let's not blame anyone. Let's blame the entire team for how crappy they were today.
No one on the team deserved
Yeah, but
no
let's
one on
blame.
the team
But
deserved
I'm
to
saying,
win today.
don't defend Cousins.
Sure.
Don't defend the line.
No.
Don't defend the coaching. It was all, well, I guess I could say this word, but I'm not going to. What's a nicer
Well,
word?
we're not on
It was all
FCC
crap. It
regulation
was
today.
all crap.
It
Okay.
was terrible. It was
So
garbage.
let's start today's show unlike the flagship would, or unlike potentially just diehard Vikings fans would. Let's not be mad at one person, Danny. Let's let's be mad at everybody, because you should be, if you're a Viking fan, there should be no one you defend, and you should be mad at this entire that game today. That performance is embarrassing. It's a complete joke. Cousins can't hold on to the football. The offensive line, which we told you, you know what? Here's the thing. Okay, here's how people get fired, and this occurred to me throughout the course of today's game and watching Khalil Mack just absolutely destroy Cousins and the Vikings O line.
Yeah.
How people get fired is when they sit in their office after seeing Riley Reef last year against Mac and say, left tackle's okay.
Yeah,
That's
he
how
can
you
get
lose.
that done.
That's how you lose your job in April by not addressing that then. So Rick Spielman, you're to blame too. Mike Zimmer, Gary Kubiak, every last one of you. That was embarrassing. That's absolute garbage. That is absolute crap. And so I am not for absolving anybody or defending anybody today. Stefan Diggs fumbles the ball
There's
and then yells on the sideline, well, dude, hang on to the football. Might help you out.
Judd, there's no defensing today's loss. There's no positive spin on this game. There's nothing that I can say
And
to
there's
defend the Vikings.
exactly.
Kirk Cousins' numbers are going to look okay because Kirk Cousins put up numbers in garbage time after the game was out of reach, which is exactly what Kirk Cousins does time and time and time again. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The guy's a fraud.
Well, the whole
And that
team
was
was a fraud
proven
today,
today.
though. But
Oh,
every
and
part of this
yes,
team is
yes,
a
yes,
fraud
yes.
today. Every part of this team
This
embarrassed
wasn't
themselves.
like the Green Bay game where you could legitimately say that 43 of the 46 active players deserved to win. No, all 46 of them deserved a loss today. That's how
Yeah.
bad this team was. It was an embarrassing effort as Kirk Cousins continues to pad his stats late in the game with passing yards
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way he can get it. He can't hang on to the ball. I have a lot of questions about this team as under the leadership of Kirk. And you know what? The play calling wasn't great either. What was that 2-point conversion play?
Awful.
That was terrible. That's something that needs to be addressed because, yeah, right now they're down by 10 and the game just ends right now. But if you have a better 2-point conversion play drawn up, maybe you have a chance. Maybe that it doesn't finish out the same way that it does, but what a joke, man.
And the game has just gone final. The Vikings lose 16-6, so they fall to 2-2 on the season. The Bears improved to 3-1. If you would like to reach us throughout the course of today's show, Vikings Ventline, you can certainly tweet questions or comments, and Declan will read those. That's at Score North. If you are so inclined as well on Twitter, I'm at Jay Zolgad, and Danny's at Real D Cunningham. But if you want to get something out there that Declan can read, tweet us at Score North, and you can also comment in the section on the Periscope telecast as well. So Vikings lose 16-6. I mean, and
Yeah,
here's
and we've got plenty of comments in the Periscope comment
and by the
section
way,
already. If you want to get to those, we've got a lot of those that I can pull up.
Mitch
And if you want to
Trubisky,
see your name on Declan's computer, just tweet there.
Mitch Trubisky gets hurt. What, 4 plays in, 5 plays in,
I
if
I
that?
don't even remember how many it was. It was early.
And Chase Daniel basically picked apart when he needed to your defense.
He was
Explain that to me.
better than Mitch Trubisky. Well, the explanation there is Mitch Trubisky's just not very good.
Sure,
Like
but what?
that's just what it is.
But
Chase and
how does your defense look? You can't again. You can't give up the touchdown to open the game. That opening drive touchdown, we know what the offense's problems are.
yeah,
They can't be behind.
yeah,
The
and
second you're behind, you're probably dead. Now, this is no way to live life. I get all that. But this was, listen, you picked your poisons. Like you sat there in April and didn't address left tackle. And you said that a rookie center and Elfline shuffling to left guard was going to help you. And you picked this lot in life, and now it's screwing you, and that's your fault.
yeah, there's no question about it. They have no one to blame but themselves. And listen, Vikings fans should be mad about this game.
Yes.
This is not a game that you can take away anything from and feel good about. There are no positives from today. You've put yourself in a significant hole in the division. You're going to be in last place in the NFC North. You're a last place team right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way to look at it.
And you went into Green Bay
And
were
lost.
down 21-0 and had every opportunity to come back and win. And I would argue that with the performance that you should have had today, you could have won today too. It feels hopeless, but it shouldn't have been. The first half pass, the shot to Thielen, much like the second half pass on fourth down to Diggs was completed,
Yeah.
that long shot to Thielen has to be completed,
How
and
different is
that's a
the game?
touchdown.
How different is the game if that's a touchdown the way it should have been a touchdown?
Like there's no, as I said at halftime, Danny, there's no wiggle room here. Everything that we say should work has to work.
Yes.
You don't have the ability to be a high flying Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, that didn't work, but that's fine. Come back and get them next series.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we tell you needs to work. You have to have work. And when it doesn't, I mean, you gave up the touchdown to start the game, but ultimately 16 points. Again, you should be able to win games.
And not even just the fact that you gave up the touchdown to start the game. You gave up a touchdown drive of 7.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Your offense had 2 possessions in the entire first half because the defense that's supposed to be among the league's best, one of the elite defenses, a defense that can lead you to the playoffs and playoff victories, couldn't get off the freaking field against Chase Daniel. Chase Daniel.
Well, and not to mention the fact that going into today's game, okay, think about this. You got done defense. The Bears defense did you.
Yes.
Like the Bears defense embarrassed you.
Mm-hmm.
Akeem Hicks, their outstanding defensive tackle, knee injury,
Took the day off.
did not play. Nichols, starting defensive end, hand injury, did not play.
Took the day off.
Linebacker Roquan Smith,
Really good player.
took the day off. Personal
and
issues.
They still embarrassed you.
That's my point.
They were without. Yes, I understand.
You
Khalil
got
Mack's
all of
still
these
out
breaks.
there. But
It's maddening to
Yeah.
watch this. And what the hell are you doing?
Everything before the game that could have gone in your favor went in your favor, and you still got embarrassed.
Yeah, and this goes back to, as I said after the Green Bay game, and don't even bring up. I dare you bring up the Oakland game to me. I will come through that camera and I will personally punch you. You bring up that Oakland game one time because that's an awful team that played better today, but that was Oakland embarrassed itself. Okay,
Yeah.
So this goes back to what I told you guys after the loss at Lambeau, which is right now your expectation should be that this is if you can make the playoffs, you should feel fortunate. This is nothing more than if you make the playoffs, you can feel fortunate. And again, I blame everybody. I blame the quarterback. I blame play calling. I blame the defensive side of the football. Stop somebody on that first drive. The stat that they gave on TV was what?
The Chicago Bears in their last 12 games, they have scored, not touchdowns, just scored, period, on 3 of their last 12 opening possessions. All 3 have been in games against the Minnesota Vikings. They've won 3 straight games against the Vikings for the first time since 2012. It's not a good thing, folks. Now, the question I want to ask you is, how hot is the temperature in that locker room? How hot is the temperature in that front office, in that coach's meeting room this week?
In what way? Because the
people are
in the locker room is going to be hot. Because
it should be.
I saw a tweet from Chad Graff, and I was texting back and forth with Collar about this as well. That at one point before the late game padding and touchdown, which by the way nobody gives a damn, so congratulations, you scored 6 points. Diggs was yelling on the sideline in the vicinity of Stefanski, and Rudolph evidently went over there and calmed him down. And by the way, I'd like to say this: I'm glad that Kyle can still do something for this team because it's not on the football field and it's not on 4th and 35. But I think the temperature, Danny, in the locker room right now is extremely hot. I think guys are probably very mad. And somebody said, "Well, it's not Cousins' fault." Well, that's not the point. They won't even torch Cousins. But if you're paid that much to be Diggs, if you're Diggs or Thielen, and you're paid that much,
yeah,
and you're simply not getting the football, you don't care if your quarterback is Kirk Cousins, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, or Case Keenum.
Yeah, it doesn't
matter. You
matter.
just want the football.
Yeah.
So this is not they're turning on. This is not a necessarily public turning on Kirk Cousins. This is a public turning on why the hell am I here?
Mm-hmm. What's the point of my services? You're paying me this money for what?
And anybody with decent offensive stats at the end of today's game got them because they padded them.
Yes,
so they're not legitimate statistics.
Yeah. So. Declan, any good tweets so far?
Well, we got a few so far. What is out there in the offensive line, and why didn't we address it in the offseason, which is a theme that we've probably heard for a long time here in Minnesota.
The offensive line wasn't addressed in the offseason in part because they wanted to retain Anthony Barr for a lot of money, which you can make an argument that it was worth it. I don't know. Other than that, I don't have a good answer for you as to why it wasn't addressed.
Well, that's partially why.
Yeah.
That's partially why.
That's my answer.
You also mistakenly, because you were most concerned about your interior of your line, you also mistakenly thought that Riley Reef could hold up at left tackle.
He can't.
But people get fired because they don't sit down and say, we are in a division with Khalil Mack. And so that's a problem.
Yeah.
So what can we do? Like we now need to cut bait on one or two of Zimmer's favorite defensive players, perhaps, to get a left tackle because we've got to be able to block Khalil Mack. You don't do that. That's how you get called into Ziggy Wolf's office and ask why you didn't, and you then are have your key card taken away.
Yep. How upset do you think Ziggy Wolf is right now?
Oh, I bet he's 6 shades of. Oh yeah, I bet he's very upset. I saw him in Green Bay at was it halftime, and he was really upset.
I believe that.
Well, and I mean, he was told, 13-3. You're told Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy. You're paying him, and I know it's not as much now, but the day that you paid him, I believe you made him the richest quarterback in
At
the
the
league
time,
that day.
first fully guaranteed contract of that amount of
And
money in
keep in mind
NFL
too,
history.
you're a fan who I think does a pretty good job of allowing your football people to make decisions.
Yeah.
And my dog Stella could have watched that first half and said, "What are you people doing?" If she could talk.
Spencer wants to know what's your thoughts on Garrett Bradbury so far, and if this performance has improved at all in against the Bears. I know there was one where he hiked the ball and the guy just went right by him.
And then he turned around and tried to run after him. Yeah.
He's getting bullied.
Garrett Bradbury, not great. I'll be fascinated to see the Pro Football Focus grades on him today because it can't be good again.
No, and I think it's also unfair. They brought this kid in and basically said, "You're a first round draft pick, so be good."
Mm-hmm.
And the problem, if you're playing Atlanta, which in week 1 was awful, or Oakland, which in week 3, you can run block really well. You can't really pass protect, but you're playing at home and it works, right?
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook finished today's game with 14 carries for 35 yards and a long of 9 yards. And
Not
so
great.
now, now you can't pass protect. Now, if you're playing the Bears in Chicago, you can't run block.
Nope.
So what would you say that you do here?
Jimmy wants to know what took us so long to start running the hurry up offense. Plus, the quick passing game gets the ball out of Kirk's hands and slows down the pass rush. And why did the Vikings not do that more?
That's a great question. I have no clue, and I'm guessing that they're going to be asked that post game. And the other thing is, the more, and this is going to sound really pathetic and really, really sad, but I'm dead serious. The more that you put Kirk in a position not to think at all, the better Kirk is.
I called for the short passing game all week as a key as to how they could negate this Bears pass rush a little bit. The hurry up offense, it's clear that they look more comfortable. Now, that being said, they looked better doing that because the Bears secondary kind of relaxed. Like they played off. They weren't playing as aggressive
Right.
as they did throughout the course of the game because what was the purpose of that? There's no need for them to be aggressive when they're up 16-0 with less than 4 minutes left. You just don't want to. You're going to allow a touchdown at some point, but you want that touchdown to take like 4 minutes, which it did.
What disappoints me too is you're down. What was the score at halftime?
10-0.
Okay, you're down 10 rip at halftime, and we talked about this on the halftime vent line edition. It felt like it felt really bad. Like the game felt bad from a Vikings perspective, but it still was within reach.
It was winnable.
So come out there in the third quarter
Mm-hmm.
and just absolutely throw down and come out and play great defense, and more importantly, come out and have ideas on offense. And I don't know if that means coming out in hurry up or what, but have different ideas.
Yeah.
And that offense in the third quarter looked feeble again.
Yeah.
It looked absolutely feeble.
Scott Zimmerman wants to know, why does it take a quarter for this defense to get going? We obviously saw that against the Packers. I don't know if we saw it against the Falcons or the Raiders.
No, the Falcons and the Raiders, they got off to really good starts, but I mean,
those
both the road games that they've played, they haven't.
Yep, absolutely. And these games, here's the thing: Oakland don't weigh it at all.
No,
like that's a AAA team.
Really, Atlanta's got a worse record than Oakland right now.
Yeah, so
they lost to Tennessee today at home.
So let's look at where your calling card absolutely has to be strong defensive starts, and you have to get off to a really good start defensively, and you have to shut the team down because you know that your offense is probably going to have hiccups and some struggles. And that's a great question, and I don't know, but it becomes very hard to defend Mike then.
Yeah.
As far as trying to be pro Mike, it becomes very hard when because this is all his idea. His baby is, we're going to establish the run, we're going to pound the football, we're going to keep my defense off the field as much as possible. So when they're out there, they're going to be fresh and fantastic. It becomes more and more difficult by the big game to say Mike Zimmer is absolutely the right guy when you see